What's going on, guys? It's your boy Ty, and today in this video I want to talk to you guys about something that I feel like is super relevant right now, and I'm very excited to talk about it. That being Halloween season. It's finally like September 20th. Halloween's in about 40 days or so, and that means that we can finally start watching scary movies. Some people say it's the beginning of September. For me, I set my parameters at like halfway through September to a little bit after Halloween for when it's okay to watch Halloween movies. But with that being said, the thing I want to talk about today is actually a little bit negative. That being that I personally feel, at least over the past couple of years, maybe half a decade or so, horror has been pretty much the worst genre of films. And I feel like it's been pretty evident. And yeah, I just want to dive a little bit deeper into why I think that's the case. But guys, if you like videos like this, just talking about movies, it could be about pretty much anything within the world of film, please consider dropping a like on this video if you like it, and subscribe if you want to stick around and see more videos about movies. So yeah, with that being said, let's just dive right into things. Also, for my returning viewers, I don't know how many of you that there actually are, I'm finally standing up again. My past couple of videos, I've been like sitting down. Honestly, I feel like it just kind of sucked the energy out of me, and I didn't really show as much personality. And also, I think so much better when I'm on my feet because, I'm just able to like move and stuff. My brain's really going here. So yeah, let's just dive right into it. I don't want to waste any more time. Sorry about that rant, but yeah, let's go. See, from my own personal perspective, horror is pretty easily my least favorite genre of movies, and I'm not taking that really into account when I'm discussing the fact that I feel horror is the worst genre, but I just feel like it's not something I'm naturally attracted to. I've got to say, if I'm being real here, I am what some could call, because I don't want to curse, a scaredy cat when it comes to horror movies. I'm not going to go out of my way to just sit in the dark and just be like half cuddled up behind a blanket trying not to like look at a movie. No, I'd rather just get enjoyment out of a film. I don't think getting scared is like the most exciting, fun thing ever. If anything, I just don't like it, like I was saying. So naturally, I'm gonna be slightly biased, I think. But with that being said, I still am very interested by horror movies. I still watch a couple of them a year. One franchise I particularly am really like invested in is the Halloween franchise, even though I know it's been on and off with its hits. But at the same time, horror is a very interesting franchise, or interesting genre, I should say, just as a whole. Like I mentioned before, I don't love horror, but I think it's interesting, it's intriguing. And the reason I say that also is because I feel like there still is a lot of creativity within that realm of horror. So I really want to dive into why I think it's such a, I want to say, weak genre of films. Alright, so I just want to get into my first point here. Before I want to start getting into why I think horror movies haven't really just been working over the past couple of years, I just want to talk about the movies generally, so you'll understand what I mean in a second. So if we just look at, because this is like a good benchmark, the 2020s, okay? We are 3.5 years into the 2020s. I was scrolling through some horror movies trying to see what's really came out. What have some hits been from the horror genre since 2020? So like I said, we're a third into the decade already. There's got to be something, right? I only found, realistically, what I believed to be like 5 good horror movies in 3.5 years. The first of those being Nope. I thought Jordan did an excellent job with this. It had a very creative premise, and yeah, just a really cool movie, especially when you go in not really knowing what's going on. On top of that, Barbarian I watched. Like I said, don't watch too many horror films. I heard this one is a really unique twist, and I've got to say, going into this, the fact that the trailer did not really show the main premise of this movie, didn't really give any details away, made it such an awesome viewing experience. Crazy twists and turns, definitely scary, had an interesting plot, really like likable characters, with some being less likable than others, like villains, I guess you could say. But overall, a really cool movie, and it has Justin Long in it. How could you not love that? Then, moving on from there, we have the Pearl and X series. I haven't seen those two, but obviously they're widely loved, so I'm not going to sit here and ignore them. And then moving on from that, that's where we kind of have a drop off here. What else do we have? Talk to Me just came out in July. That had really great reviews. Haven't seen it. As we dive into these more like mid movies, I was just looking at them and I'm like, oh yeah, I remember that came out, but I haven't thought about it since. And I'm not saying I watched them, but usually I'll be like reminded about a movie, whether that's Smile, which was kind of mid apparently according to everyone. Haven't seen it, but doesn't have great reviews. Halloween Kills, which I saw, like I said, big Halloween fan, really bad. Halloween Ends, probably the most disappointed I've ever been walking out of a horror film. Felt like such a layup, and they started to go off on this crazy track with the side character Corey. Didn't make any sense. But I'm going on a tangent here. The whole point is, how are you going to drop 5 good horror movies? I'm basically just talking to Hollywood as a whole in like 3.5 years. That's pretty crazy. And I'm sure there's some hidden gems I'm missing. People might complain and be like, oh, you forgot to mention this movie or this movie. But realistically, I feel like I should be able to name more movies. I'm sure I'm missing 1 or 2, but realistically, there just hasn't been that quality that I feel like other genres have had so much success in, whether it's the superhero genre, which I know is kind of on the downfall, whether it's just action movies, even comedy movies, which have been on the decline. At least every movie kind of has comedy elements in them. It just feels like we're on this path to the horror movie becoming more and more formulaic, where nothing's changing within it. But that brings me to my second point. Moving on from talking about just like the popularity of films and ratings, reviews, I want to really get into the meat and potatoes here of why I just think the quality has just dropped. So if I really dive into the formula, we could say, for a horror movie, right? What does that look like? We need to scare you, whether it's through jump scares or suspense. It's pretty much 2 things. It's as simple as that. Don't get me wrong. Like I said, a lot of creativity can go into both of these things. But at the end of the day, it breaks down to its simplest form with those 2 methods of scaring you. When we look at maybe, let's just say, the early 2010s, James Wan came in, and he was on fire. He made Insidious, The Conjuring 1, The Conjuring 2, and those were pretty creative concepts, kind of diving into this paranormal type of, horror feel that obviously has been seen before, whether it's like the Blair Witch Project, Paranormal Activities, but still just leaning into this more possession, demonic thing, as compared to slashers, which I feel like were very popular in the 2000s. But now I feel like we're at this point where over time, we've been leaning to this paranormal thing. There's been hits. There's been like Hereditary and Midsommar, some A24 stuff. But I feel like now, because this is the point of this video, now in 2023, I just feel like all the creativity, all the ideas have just been sucked out from any horror movies, just ideas as a whole. I don't really know if that makes sense. I hope you guys are kind of following what I'm saying. I feel like every movie's either leaning on way too many jump scares, or the suspense is just not really riling you up and getting you like on the edge of your seat as it used to be. I feel like we need an injection of talent in Hollywood to really kind of boost up this genre, because it's dying realistically, almost like you could say the MCU or like those types of things. I think it's almost on the same trend. I know horror will always be relevant. You could always revisit the old movies, but at the same time, we just need another almost renaissance or something to kind of revive this. I think that they're on maybe a slightly good path, because A24 just picked up Talk to Me. Those guys were literally from YouTube, and they ended up making, apparently, like I said, haven't seen it, a great horror movie. So I'm very happy for them. You've got people like Jordan Peele. I fully trust him. I can't wait to see his next movie. So maybe things will trend upwards, but I just don't know what's going on here. The next reason that I want to get into here obviously ties into the previous 2, but it's kind of due to those. I feel like audience demand and attention and love for horror movies as a whole is just declining. Even when a great horror movie comes out, I feel like not too many people really talk about it. When Barbarian came out, I was barely seeing anything about it, but I saw a couple things, and that's the reason that I went to actually see it, and I loved it. Like I said, Talk to Me. It got a little bit of momentum, but at the end of the day, it's already, September, and nobody really talks about it or discusses it. It's kind of like it just fizzled out. There's other movies, though, like Oppenheimer, Barbie, Across the Spider-Verse, these bigger, grander, really epic films that were just amazing, that obviously are still being talked about to this day. But for some reason, this just can't stick with the horror genre. It's like something about horror. I don't know if it's the fact that it's only related to like 1 month or so out of the year, like October, like this is the time to watch it. Don't get me wrong, I bet people love to watch horror movies around this time of the year, but I feel like the rest of the year there's just no interest in horror movies. Also, really quick, just want to mention this, another good horror movie that I actually really liked was Scream 6. Kind of random, just wanted to throw that in there, but it just came to me. But yeah, I just feel like people are only interested in horror movies 1 month out of the year, kind of, And even the horror movies that drop, like I said, in October aren't really that good. And yeah, the other 11 months, it's just like whatever. On top of that, the catalog for this year with horror movies, there's like nothing coming out. The Nun 2 just came out, another Conjuring universe movie. I think it's the 7th one. Nobody has interest in that. The Letterboxd reviews are absolutely terrible. There's another movie called like Thanksgiving coming out. That seems like whatever. It's like some slasher. I personally prefer slashers to like paranormal / demonic horror movies, but that's just me. Also forgot to mention though, the Five Nights at Freddy's movie is coming out. Very excited for that, but that's kind of like an outlier because it's not like a new idea. It's just a video game adaptation, which I'm perfectly fine with. I've got to say one thing though. I feel like there is hope for the horror genre. And I know that I just said I feel like it's the worst genre and I feel like it's declining. But if I had to give my pitch for what I would do if I was just leading Hollywood and I just said, I just want to revive the horror genre, this is what I would do. And I know it's a little bit cheap and I know it's technically been done before, but I think it can be done right. What's the answer for that? Reboot. You've got these classic characters, right? Like Michael Myers. Okay, they just rebooted him. We'll give him a decade and then do another movie. But I feel like there's some really classic characters that have just not gotten the love they deserve in 2023, or they haven't in the past 15 years. Whether that's Jason from Friday the 13th. The last Friday the 13th movie was like 2009. It got terrible reviews. But he's still a popular character. And pretty much every Friday the 13th movie has bad reviews. Let's reboot. Let's make a new series. Maybe you can make 3 of those movies. Nightmare on Elm Street. Freddy Krueger's a popular character. Bring him back, man. People would love to go see that. Reboot. Fine. Maybe you don't need a bunch of people coming in, doing the same horror movie formula, and maybe Hollywood's just out of ideas. But at the same time, if you give a more creative director an actual, chance, and especially if it's based off an IP that already exists, I feel like you just need to combine an already known character with an actual talent behind the camera, and you'll make a great film. I feel like most of these horror movies nowadays, they just have like these no-name directors, and that's not even really a slight to them. I'm happy they're getting their shot and they're getting their opportunity, but they always end up just being super forgettable or bad. Like I said, reboot. I don't even know how many different characters there are, whether it's Frankenstein, the creature from the Black Lagoon, whether you want to bring in Dracula, just anything. Bring in something fresh and new, promote it, and people actually might be interested in the horror franchise again. I keep saying franchise, I mean genre, because all I've been doing is talking about the MCU recently. And one thing that's good is, let's just say that there's a bunch of reboots coming out. That gives directors time to actually think and come up with creative premises, so that once these reboots get more attention and kind of get the horror train rolling here, maybe we can get some new films, some fresh ideas. But I feel like things are either being rushed or too many are coming out and they're just starting to become kind of stupid and, like I said, formulaic. So yeah, guys, that's gonna do it for today. Honestly, as a non-horror fan, I don't know how many horror movie videos I'm going to be making, but I just thought this was an interesting topic. And honestly, this October, this Halloween season, I want to try to watch some more horror movies. I just watched The Conjuring for the first time the other night. Definitely scared me to death, but I honestly really liked it. So yeah, I want to watch a couple more up until Halloween. But guys, with that being said, thank you guys for watching. I love you guys, and I will see you in the next video.